Hello everyone, I'm Annie. Today I'm going to share the book Lord of the Flies with you guys after I read it. And it was written by William Golding. Before we start, I have to mention that all the ideas I'm going to share with you guys are just my personal opinions. So in this video, there are totally 5 contents. The first one is the summary. The second one is the character analysis. The third one is my own personal connections with the book after I read it. The fourth one is academic response. And last but not least would be my recommendations. First, let's talk about the summary, which includes the introduction of the author, the short summary of this book, as well as the process of the plots. As we can see here, there's a connection between the author, William Golding, and the book Lord of the Flies. So for the author, William Golding, who is shown on the left side of this page, he was born in England in 1911 and showed a great interest in literary when he was just a child, and he even started to write at the age of 7. And the most significant experience, I guess, in his life must be the World War II, which played an important role on his writing style. And in 1954, he published Lord of the Flies, this book on the right side, which made him obtain a great success and even brought the Nobel Literary Prize to him in 1983. After discussing the author, let me make a short introduction about this book for you guys, to just quickly get to know what this book talks about. So this is a story of survival and humanity. A group of boys were stranded on a desert island due to a plane accident. At the beginning, they survived as a tribe and selected 2 leaders to command them. During this period, someone said there's a beast on the island, making everyone stay in fear of the coming feast. At the same time, a series of conflicts occurred between those 2 leaders, Ralph and Jack, leading to the division of the tribe. The long-term hunting also drove the boys going crazy and even killed 2 of their members. In the end, an officer arrived on the desert island and discovered them, and the boys were finally rescued. Here is an explanation in detail. In this part, I use plot structure to introduce the content of this story, and it's worth to mention that there's no falling action in this book, but it occurs 2 rising actions. So here we go from the introduction. As I mentioned, the boys were thrown on a desert island due to a plane accident. They began to search for companions and work together to survive on the desert island. And then it goes the rising action 1. Ralph and Jack became the 2 leaders who led the boys to survive together. But during this period, these 2 boys had multiple conflicts. Mainly because Ralph rationally wanted to work on campfire and shelter, while Jack was only interested in hunting. Here we go, rising action 2. Jack, after multiple conflicts, angrily left the group and decided to set up his own tribe. And more people after that left Ralph's group and joined Jack's tribe for the meat, the tribe, and definitely better life conditions. And then it comes the most exciting plot, the climax. On a rainy night, all the boys were inspired with the attribute of killing and became insane even. They regarded Simon as a beast and brutally killed him together. Last but not least, we have resolution. After Simon's death, Jack led the boys to snatch Piggy's glasses. When Ralph and Piggy went to seek justice, Jeff killed Piggy with a stone. Roger, after Jack's order. Then everyone started chasing Ralph, and in the end, Ralph escaped to the beach and was discovered by an officer. Then the boy had been rescued. It seems to be a happy ending, but you can see a lot of sorrowful and irony process during this book. Here we go, the part 2, character analysis. In this part, I totally choose 5 characters who play a significant role in the book. So definitely the first one will be Rolf, who is one of the most important characters in the story and seems to be a protagonist. According to the paragraph I have shown on the screen on page 25 in this book, we can see that Rolf is born with attractive leadership and has a certain mass base to be a leader. However, his power is also very weak that can't even order his members to maintain a campfire during the book. And every time he's speaking, people always show a complaining and disrespectful attitude. I guess it's mainly because of 3 reasons. First one, I guess he's not talented at resolving conflict with others. I mean, every dispute between Jack and Rolf, Rolf always gives in and feel lost. He always compromise and leading to the dissolution of his tribe and even threaten his life in the end. And meanwhile, the contempt for his supporter Piggy also lead to the poor condition he faced as the plot continued, just like the paragraph I put here. Thirdly, I guess he's too rigid to follow the method of traditional survival. He's too stubborn to keep the fire for being rescued, but rarely think of their real situation of hunger. If you can't solve the problem of hunger for survival, anything that you want to do is useless. And that's why he always make conflict with Jack and finally lead to the division of their tribe. Secondly, I'll talk about another main character in this book, Jack. He's more like a main antagonist, but I don't actually want to divide him into the evil group since his character has been changed a lot in the book. He has a strong desire for power and control and is unwilling to share power with others, just like with Rolf. And this is expressed in the book on page 26. And it shows like once he felt the threat of his power, he becomes extremely angry and anxious. But in the early stages, he is still a kind child. He learns to divide the work. He learns to divide the work and power with Rolf and apologizes generously when he doesn't watch the bonfire. But as he continues to hunt, the pleasure brought by the killing gradually made him lose himself, and in the end he even aims his spear at those who disobey him. The third person I'm going to talk about is Piggy. He's definitely Rolf's trusted assistant, although Rolf initially didn't want to admit it. So he is a fat, rational child and often appears mature and feels childish towards the behaviors of these little kids, just like the book states on page 47. And although he always put forward constructive ideas, no one is willing to listen to him due to his fat appearance. In the book, you can always say that kids never showed respect to his opinion, even himself, just like the paragraph on page 77. And this fat boy also has a sorrowful and poor end. As I mentioned, he was killed by Roger. Then here's comes Simon. He's a thin and shy girl, just like according to the book on page 27. Every time he speaks, he is bashful to express himself in front of a large number of people. And meanwhile, he is also a loyal assistant. He unconditionally trusts the leader he follows, as described in the book. Simon looked at them both, saying nothing but nodding to his black hair flopping backwards and forwards. His face was glowing. It's so cute. At the same time, he seems to be acted as a thinker in the book because he's the only person who talks to the Lord of the Flies and contemplating their current situation and changes in human nature. However, this great thinker was finally killed by these crazy boys at a rainy night, which also presented the climax of the story, as I've already mentioned. Last but not least, I want to introduce Morris. In my opinion, he's a smart child with excellent emotional intelligence, and this can be reflected in the story. Morris saved them. He cried out, "Look at me!" He pretended to fall over, and just like when other boys argue, he always plays a clown to make everyone laugh and clearly and cleverly resolving the conflict at the first time. So now let's turn to the part 3, my personal connection with this book. In this part, I'm going to talk about my favorite plot and interesting rules, as well as the association with other products during the process I'm reading this book. So here it goes, the first one, the plot. This is my favorite plot, most favorite one in the book. The dark sky was shattered by the blue-white scar. An instant later, the noise was on them like the blow of a gigantic whip. The chain rose a tone in augury. Kill the beast, cut his throat, spill his blood. Now out of the terror rose another desire, think, urgent, bland. Kill the beast, cut his throat, spill his blood, on page 186. So this description is very interesting, but also a sad atmosphere of the story. So it starts with extreme weather and set off the tense atmosphere before the disaster began. Then the weather was transformed into human emotions, gradually portraying the boys' restless killing factors and laying the groundwork for the tragedy that follows. Next is my favorite, or more like a attractive character. So this will definitely be Roger, though his antagonist, but it attracts me a lot because of his changing characteristics in the book. So at the beginning of the book, just like it's showing on the paragraph on page 72, we can see he's just a naughty boy who likes to play some tricks with the nature or with other little kids. And then here's come the first time that he had an evil mind with others. Like he wants to throw the stone to Henry, but he also knows it might be a way to kill them. So at this time, he still keep a moral standard, and it also emphasized that Roger still maintains moral values and dare not harm Henry. But after that, after a series of hunting and killing, he finally loses his entire humanity. On page 224, we can clearly see that during the process, he throw the stone to Piggy and kill Piggy. He only lived full of excitement and doesn't have any moral standard or fairness of blood. So it's a quite irony and sorrowful changing characteristic of this role. Last but not least, in personal connection, here's come the association during the time I was reading this book. It makes me associated with many topics and products, just like the first one on the left side, a movie called Yi Hero. I guess it also can be called like hunger platform. So it tells a story of a vertical prison where the platform carrying food descends from the first floor to hundreds of floors, and the prisoners who can't eat enough start to use every means they can think of, and even begin to eat others, like other person. So it's also a story about extreme environment, people staying there and use every means they can think of for survival, and also in the end some of them lose their entire humanity and moral standard and become totally the evils. And another product I could associate it with would be the book Animal Farm, which was written by George Orwell. So it's a story about a group of animals on the farm who successfully carried out a revolution to drive out all the human owners who used to squeeze them out of the farm and build and wanted to build an eco animal society. However, after a period of leading, those animal leaders, I mean those smart pigs, eventually usurp the fruits of the revolution and become even more dictatorial rulers than those human owners. They become entire evil and lose their original goal, which was, to lead all the animals to have a happy and full of happiness and a lovely future. So it's also an irony product that I could associate with the book Lord of the Flies. Part 4, I'm going to talk about academic response. In this part, I'm going to talk about several sections like the level of difficulties, the interesting things, and writing techniques. It is worth to mention that I'm going to use stars to demonstrate the level of difficulty I could think of this book. So 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 4 stars. So in my opinion, it's definitely a difficult book for me, like for those people whose first language is not English to read. To begin with, there are many long paragraphs in this book. You can see in those pictures I picked up from the book. Even some simple events, the author still use long paragraphs to describe it, which is definitely hard to read. And even sometimes I would feel boring to read it. And secondly, here's come environmental descriptions. I mean, there are many environmental descriptions, plenty of them in this book to read. Some of them are very beautiful, lovely, or even have some deeper meanings. But there are a large number of them that makes me feel hard to read, because every time the writer wrote those environmental descriptions, they always use complex sentences and writing techniques. And last but not least, it's the deeper thing. It's also quite a difficult level. The factor of this book for me, because authors rarely use simple words to just directly tells you the thing. Instead, they always use some just as I've mentioned, the environmental descriptions or some mental descriptions for some main characters. So after you read the entire chapter, you can think of the thing and also judge some daily problems that you might face in your life. So it's very interesting, but it's also a little bit hard for second language person who own English to read it. So here's come the interesting things. Though, as I mentioned, it's quite difficult for me to read some deeper meanings and descriptions, but I still think that those irony descriptions are very interesting, attractive for me to read. Just like in the end of the story, the Rav was rescued by an officer. He met this officer on the beach, and the first smile came to the officer when he saw those boys. Was that he just thought it was a game between a group of boys. However, he can never know that as we already read this book, how sorrowful, irony, and bloody and cruel process they have already experienced. Those boys have already experienced on this island. So it's a quite irony description for the ending. Secondly, will be the comparison. As I've already mentioned about the comparison for Roger's characteristic, William Golding really loves to use comparison to also represent some irony and the deeper theme in his book. Just like as I've already put there, on page 36, at this time, at the beginning of the story, Jack still has the fear of blood and killing. But after a series of hunting, on page 166 and 168, he's already familiar with hunting and become entirely cruel and feel no fear of the blood. Then here's come the intimation. Well, it's quite similar to the irony description. Like writer always use some environmental description that I already put here on 186 to use some extreme weathers to describe some irony and deeper theme of this book. By building a great atmosphere, great cruel and bloody atmosphere there. So thirdly, I will talk about the writing technique quiz. The first one, there are many writing technique quiz there, like a hyperbole, simile, and personification that you can already see in this page. I will just pick a simple one to explain because we don't have enough time to explain all of them. So here goes personification, I guess. So page 116. We can already see the personification description. They were black and iridescent green and without numbers, and in front of Simon, the Lord of the Flies hung on his stick and grinned. We know that the Lord of the Flies as animals, they could never smile to a human. So here, the author definitely used personification to describe the behavior and character of the Lord of the Flies, which also represent the fear and thinking for Simon about the beast. Last but not least, here we go, so recommendations. So, in my opinion, I guess the readers who will be interested in reading this book, first of all, will be Potterheads. Because Harry Potter is also the book that describe a group portraits. So for those Potterheads who really love to read story about a group of people and to see the changeable characteristics for those important roles, is a great choice for them to read Lord of the Flies. Besides, there's also adventure and suspense who also occurs in Lord of the Flies. Secondly, the slice of life fans might also love Lord of the Flies because in this game, people could definitely see the entire growth of the roles and also the changing characteristics as they experience the different events in the games. And also, people would never know the trend of their life, like what person they would be in the future. Maybe the future is just after a few minutes. Yeah. So I guess the slice of life fans would also love this book very much. Last but not least, I recommend the university students to read this book because, as I've mentioned, the level of difficulty for this book is 4 stars, which means deeper themes and also some complex grammars for those university students to learn on academic aspects. Besides, they can also get to know some irony problems that has been mentioned in this book, which can be also associated with the problems that we could face in today's society. And here is my works cited page. So that's all about my video. Thank you for watching and have a good day.